Hello. So someone asked what I actually do in my knitting studio. So I thought I would record it and make kind of like a vlog style video. So it's Wednesday. I'm just editing and exporting my second episode of Loops in the Race. But while I am exporting, I'm gonna do some knitting project. And I actually talked about this in the second episode, but I'm going to make a hat in knitting machine. Alright, so this is my knitting machine, and sorry about the lighting, but I have a cake of yarn down there that I talked about in the second episode. That's the one I dyed, and I am just making a swatches to decide what kind of gauge this sock is going to be, and once I gauge it, then I am going to cast on using the riverbed. Okay, so here is swatches. I made them, the first one I made was kind of tight and I didn't really like the fabric that it's producing. So at the end I ended up using a dial 5 for my knitting machine. And I just pin them, like I lightly steam them and pin them and then count. I usually count like 5 centimeters, so like 2 inches. And then make a note on how many stitches and rows per 5 centimeters that this creates. Okay, so I decided to do a sockhead hat by Kelly McClure. It's flea pattern that's available on Ravelry. And the gauge was, so it's kind of confusing, but the author's gauge, I think, this is the designer's gauge. So this is the gauge that's designed on, was a little tighter than the one I decided to use for my hat. So I adjusted the number. I read through the pattern and it said cast on multiple of 8. So I kind of calculated how many to cast on and then kind of read through what happens. And this one, after knitting a tube, which will be flat because I'm going to do it on knitting machine, then there will be some a decreasing on the top of the head. So once I get to that, I think I am going to switch to hand knitting and then do that decrease by hand. So I kind of calculated it and put all of the notes, the cast on, how many stitches, and then how many rows I need to do on my machine. So now I'm going to cast on and then do until here and then take it off to the needle. So I thought I would explain what I'm doing. So right now I made a rib and 4 ribs. So it's kind of not even one by one. It's like using all of the needles. And I like what the kind of fabric that produced. And right now I am doing this very tedious task of moving the stitches on the main bed, which is here, into moving the stitches on the river bed into a main bed. And there are tools that does multiple stitches at a time, and there are tools that kind of semi-automatically do it, but I don't have those, so I have to do one by one, 428 of them, so that I can move on to stock knit stitch. Okay, so while I was trying to cast this off, I was gonna try to put it in the waste yarn. I put level code, but the waste yarn broke, so the entire knitting just kind of fall off. But it's level code is still catching my live stitch, so I'm gonna be very gentle and pick up live stitch from level code so that I can start hand knit. Alright, so I put all of the live stitches on needle. I put it on US 2. This might be a little loose for this gauge, but it's gonna be like a top of a hat, so I'm not too worried about having a slightly different gauge. So the color looks like kind of like a weird, it created a weird like semi-pooling pattern onto like a center of this. I'm not sure if it resembles the Sublime Monokai code editor color that I was going for, but certainly interesting. So I have quite a bit. I think it's about like 20 grams of yarn left. So I'm going to switch to hand knitting mode and then seam the side together and then finish my hat this week, I guess. Hello, it's Thursday. I just came to studio. It's like 6 o'clock. I am starting today with flogging the sweater and a re-scanning the yarn. So let me show you. I just recently flogged the sweater that I was knitting. So I just balled it up, but it's still very crinkly. And I don't have any plan to use them soon, so I'm just gonna re-skein it back. When I re-skein it, like for storage, I use this thing, which the idea is basically the crinkly yarn comes in and then goes out to my Swift, but you put a steam island on it, and then you steam it. So basically, as the yarn goes through, it just go through the steam and it just kind of relaxes the crinkles. Okay, so I'm just gonna do all of those balls. So I just wound up a ball of a craft that I got in Brighton, and my friend Monica asked me to write up a pattern for her wrapped up sleeve. So I just made a tiny swatch to see what kind of pattern that I want to put. Although this is like heavily speckled yarn, so it's kind of hard to see. So this is like chevron, and then this is kind of like modified rib, but I don't know, it's kind of hard to see the pattern. I need to think about a little more of what to do for this. So I just took a break from making swatch for laptop case and cast on this geek yarn that I talked about in the episode 2. So here's what you see. Oh, tiny bit of it. Hello, it's Friday night and it's snowing outside, so I didn't go to studio today and just working on hand knit stuff at home. So I cast on the cowl and I made this much progress. So from here to here was yesterday, the Thursday, when I cast on, and then here is what I just worked on for like an hour. I have 4 more balls left and I'm already halfway through the pattern. So I'm not sure. I do really want to like use all of the yarns, and this cowl is kind of like short in height, so I might just extend the neck part, but not sure. But I think this is knitting up really fast, so I will finish it over the weekend maybe.
City?
No, Madison.
You've arrived. Destination is on your left.
Luke drove me to Connecticut, to Madison Wall. I think I'm gonna get spinning wheel. Yay! 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 Wheel! Hello. Look, I finished my cowl last night. I went to Connecticut to pick up a spinning wheel and I just assembled it. So I also bought some fiber at a store. There you go. I bought some Haplehoy bats, and then I bought some Plaxis fiber, like pretty cheap wool to just, it's a lobing to just spin it. So I'm gonna have fun with this tonight. Sunday, I just got here. I think it's almost 2 o'clock. Yay, 2 o'clock. I think I'm going to spin more and practice with my new wheel and do some more knitting. It's been a few hours. I cataloged all of the swatches and ball bands that I recently used in the project, so that's done. And then I started doing sewing. So at Loop London, whenever, like, how much ever you spend, they give you a free project bag, but it's like really big and like weird, like shoulder size bag. So I am sewing it to be a smaller project bag. I'm gonna put a string on the top and then make it into a drawstring bag. I just finished spinning 2 ounces of singles. Does it focus? There you go. Yeah, getting consistent. I also washed my first batch, the test batch. It's still damp and it's like kind of self twists, And I might have overplayed it, but looking good. Just did a spin for silk and merino brand that I got. It's like Ashful's bag. Went really well. This was much easier to spin, thinner than the wool lobbing that I was testing out. It's getting kind of late, and I don't know. I think that's it for this week.